back again for another NFL Showdown video, this time from Monday Night Football between the Titans and the Bills. We have an absolute banger of a matchup, two high-powered offenses, and of course, the massive slate of games on Draftkings for the Monday Night Football slate. So what we'll do here in the video is we'll cover the injury report for the game, we'll talk about a few game flows that I expect, as well as my favorite stud options for each team, our favorite value plays on the slate, as well as our selections for the captain slot. So without further delay, let's hop right into the preview to get you guys ready for this single game slate. So first and foremost, let's start off with an injury report. For the Bill side of things, we have no injuries to speak of, which might be the rarest feat in football, but they are coming in completely healthy. On the Titans side of things, a little bit more to speak of. We have McNichols at running back, questionable coming into the game. We have Hooker at safety on IR, Fulton at cornerback, who's already been rolled out. But of course, Julio Jones and A.J. Brown are going to be returning from injury. No injury designation for either. In terms of a game flow, we have a higher scoring game, a 52.5 point over-under, as well as a relatively close spread. The Bills only favored by 5 points here, which is a little bit surprising to me. I expected the Bills to be a little bit more of favorites, even though they're on the road, have been one of the more dominant teams in the NFL outside their game with the Steelers. But with all that being said, let's hop into the picks for this game. Again, with that type of game flow, with such a high over-under, I do expect plenty of fantasy production in this game. And as a result, not going to be targeting these defenses, especially in cash. Probably focusing a little bit more on the receivers as well, just because we expect so many points and one team to likely have to play from behind. So starting with the Bill side of things, we have Cole Beasley at number 3, $5,400 on this slate, and somebody who's definitely garnering ownership just because of the price tag. As of right now, expected to be owned in 18.9% of lineups, but well warranted with a projection of over 15 points. And again, to this point of the year, hasn't been himself, hasn't at least looked like he did there in 2020. A lot of that's due to Emmanuel Sanders' emergence. You know, he's gone out there, been extremely effective, but at some point when a lot of that attention on the defense goes to somebody like Emmanuel Sanders, Beasley's going to get a lot more open looks. And we saw that happen with Robert Woods over in LA. Obviously, Cooper Kupp got off to a very strong start to the year. As defenses started to pay a little bit more attention to him, Robert Woods had a huge day. So I believe that is coming for Cole Beasley, at least if it's not this week, probably coming over the next week or so. So somebody I'll be targeting on this single game slate in hopes of a breakout performance. At number 2, we have Josh Allen, who's pretty much a no-brainer play. Didn't have to tell you to roster Josh Allen on this slate, but at $12,800, definitely worth the price tag. Definitely getting his ownership. You can see him expected to be owned in over 68% of lineups, but at 22.2 points, that is well warranted at the same time. So has rushing upside. This is one of the higher over-under totals on the entire slate. He's essentially a lock play, at the very least at the flex spot. But at number 1, we have Stephon Diggs at $9,600. Somebody who, again, is garnering some ownership, but I believe it's well warranted at 28.5%. He's my highest point per dollar play on the entire slate at 18.6 points. Somebody who's obviously the clear number 1 wide receiver on this team and just a little bit more expensive than Emmanuel Sanders. So because of the production that we've seen to this point, Sanders is priced up, but the clear alpha male here is Stephon Diggs, and we obviously expect to see a ceiling performance sooner rather than later. So really like him here, even at the flex spot. And as you guys will see later on, one of my favorite captain plays on the slate. But in terms of our Titans plays at the stud option, at number 3, we have Ryan Tannehill at $9,800. Also garnering plenty of ownership, but clearly not as much as somebody like Josh Allen. So at $9,800, only projected to be owned in 37.6% of lineups, which is actually a good spot to get some leverage. You know, somebody who in a high over-under total, it's probably going to throw for well over 300 passing yards. And we've seen in the past him have plenty of ceiling games. So projected right now for 18.5 points, somebody that I'm definitely trying to fit in lineups if I have the salary to spend. And number 2, we have Derrick Henry, obviously very much so priced up in this matchup at $11,400. And quite frankly, that's the only reason he's not my number 1 pick here. I mean, that is quite a bit of opportunity cost. Also getting some ownership at 23.8% ownership. And for me, at 19.2 points, while he projects well, there's just so much opportunity cost with that price. So if I have the salary to pay up for him, I will. But more often than not, I have enough for Tannehill, but not enough for Henry. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. Probably going to have less than the field on Henry. But at number 1, we have A.J. Brown, who is my favorite play on this team, my number 2 play on the entire slate. At $7,800, I have him projected for 17.8 points, and somebody who's being relatively overlooked. I think a lot of that has to do with him returning from injury. There are a lot of question marks about his ability, whether he's completely back to 100%, but the clear number one wide receiver on this team, one of the best wide receivers, period, in the NFL last year. And if Ryan Tannehill is able to rebound, as I expect him to, against this relatively weak defense and in this great game situation, A.J. Brown is going to go off as well. So $7,800 is more than an efficient enough price tag, and somebody that, again, will be one of my highest owned players on the entire slate. Wanted to quickly let you guys know about my NFL Patreon page. On there, you guys can get my projections for every player this week. So not just for Monday Night Football picks. If you guys are looking for main slate projections, for all the other Showdown slates as well, I've got you guys covered. On there, we've got our projected points for every player, but not just that. We also have ownership rankings, custom model rankings. We also have the GS Luke Community Discord where you can ask me questions at any point, run lineups by me, also talk with the rest of the community, which has been on an absolute tear of late. And the best part about it is only $8 for the month. So I highly recommend you guys check it out. A link will be in the description of this video to go ahead and join. And again, that is my Patreon page, just $8 for the month. And now getting into our value plays for the slate. At number 3, we have Anthony Firkser of the Titans at $4,000. So somebody who's definitely being overlooked. Not a sexy play on this slate by any means, but somebody who's going to get plenty of snaps, plenty of plays in this game, and somebody who has sneaky upside to go out and get a touchdown. So right now, expected to be owned in the single digits at just 6.2% ownership, but somebody projected nearly at 10 points. So again, a little bit of a sneaky play on the slate. Obviously, not very cheap there at $4,000, but you're at least getting somebody who's going to play a majority of the snaps in this game. At number 2, we have another tight end for this Titans team to back up Michael Pruitt, but also somebody who's extremely cheap at just $900. Also somebody being completely overlooked at single-digit ownership, just 3.5% expected ownership, and somebody, again, with single-digit projected points. But the thing is with Pruitt, if he ends up going out there and scoring a touchdown, ends up catching a pass or two, that is more than enough production to pay off that price tag. So again, in such a high-scoring game, being able to save that much salary very well may end up being optimal. So you may end up getting both quarterbacks if you play Pruitt. You may end up being able to fit Henry, also another wide receiver in there from the elite tier. So don't hate going there just because of the price tag. But at number 1, we have Gabriel Davis, who's by far my favorite value play on this slate. It was also my favorite value play the last time the Bills played the Chiefs. It was a little bit more expensive this time around at $2,000, but gets plenty of playing time. And again, this is a relatively high-scoring game, so some of these tertiary options are going to get in the end zone. If Gabriel Davis ends up scoring at $2,000, not only is that enough to pay off the price tag, he's somebody who can end up being one of the best plays on the entire slate. So right now projected for 10.5 points. A little bit more ownership than our other picks here. Obviously, a little bit less of a sneaky option, 15.5% ownership, but definitely one of my favorite plays, period, on the entire slate. But now for our captain selections. At number 3, we have Josh Allen, who is the most expensive player on the slate, but is well warranted. At captain, he's going to cost you $19,200. But again, even with the price, even with the ownership, somebody who you cannot avoid. I mean, just has the highest upside of any player on the slate, and it's not even close. Projected for 33.33 points at the captain slot. In cash, I love going to him, especially if you have a few value plays that you like. So that's why you see him there at number 3. But somebody I'm a little bit more excited about, especially the guy at number 1. At number 2, we have A.J. Brown, though, at $11,700. And again, the price tag was just a little bit inefficient on him. At $7,800 at flex, he's in a great play, but at captain, he's an amazing play. I mean, somebody who also has the floor, but also has the upside that we're looking for in GPP. So not getting owned as much as somebody like Allen at just 12.4% ownership, but also somebody who, again, has that ceiling. At 26.7 projected points, absolutely love him on the slate, even if the Bills get out to a huge lead. But at number 1, our favorite target on the slate is definitely going to be Stephon Diggs. A little bit more expensive than A.J. Brown at $14,400, but you cannot deny that Diggs has a much higher ceiling. I mean, this guy's going to be targeted about 12 to 14 times in this game, and if the Titans end up getting ahead somehow, Diggs is going to be in store for a massive game. I mean, the guy that is most targeted in the red zone, looked at on third down the most on this team, and frankly is the best deep threat as well. So at 27.9 projected points, at over 16% ownership, I'm willing to eat that, and it's by far my favorite captain play on the slate. That is all I've got for my Monday Night Football picks, guys. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments who you've got as your favorite captain play. Obviously, for me, that is going to be Stephon Diggs. Just think he has the highest ceiling of anyone on this slate, especially at his price tag. But go ahead and let me know who you've got. Maybe it's somebody that I had on my list, or maybe it's somebody I wasn't considering. Would love to get some debate going down in the comments. But as always, guys, appreciate you guys watching the video. Appreciate you guys coming by and supporting my channel. If you guys haven't already liked the video, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you guys go ahead and do so. That way you guys don't miss any of the content I post in the future. I don't just post Showdown content. I have main slate content for every week on Draftkings. I cover every primetime slate, as well as the PGA Tour and the UFC. So make sure you guys subscribe to get all of that. And until next time, good luck with all of your lineups and peace.